All right, good evening, everyone. Subcommittee 5 will come to order. Clerk, please take the roll. All right, a quorum is present. Just so you all know, we do have some patrons that are all over the place. Rules and everything else under the sun is going on. So we're going to try to be brief and cognizant of everyone else that might have to be a couple places. And we may have to go at ease to wait on some patrons here and there. So first for this evening, we're going to take testimony, and we're going to be limited and judicious with everyone's time because we have some hangry delegates and probably people in the audience as well. Make sure we are respectful and succinct in our comments. If people are with one organization, please speak as one voice. If there's online video testimony, it is the chair's preference that your video camera be on. Online testimony, I will allow in person. Support and opposition, 10 minutes apiece. Online, I'm going to limit that to 5 so everyone knows the rules of the road. Let's go ahead and get started. And Delegate Freitas, you're up first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I believe we have a substitute and an amendment.
Can I get a motion to move the substitute and the amendment? All those in favor? Aye. All right, Delegate Freitas, the substitute is probably before us. If you could please explain what it does.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Here's the most important thing you need to understand about this bill. It now has nothing to do with marijuana. This is exclusively about industrial hemp. And all it does in the bill is it lowers registration fee from $1,000 to $250, and then it instructs the regulatory and the commissioner and other regulatory environments basically to, keep this an open market where all Virginians will be able to participate and to prevent this from becoming anything resembling a monopoly. So that's all it does. Nothing to do with marijuana. All and exclusively about industrial hemp. And with that, Madam Chair, I would say I know there's some people that are in support of the bill, and rather than have them come up and testify, I would just ask that maybe they signify their support.
I like where the delegates' heads at. Yep. Anyone in support? I like it. All right.
That's hemp, not marijuana.
I like it. Do we have any questions of the committee? Let's make sure if there are any questions of the committee on this bill. Nothing. Wow. Is anyone in opposition of this bill? Delegate Freitas, would you like the last word on your bill?
Thank you.
I yeah. All right. Committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair.
Oh, someone's slowing the train. Delegate Bulova.
I do apologize. I want to make sure I understand exactly what this is doing. So by saying it's a very, very broad statement with respect to competition. And so is the premise here that we couldn't go ahead and have licenses that would divide them into classes or say that there can only be a certain number in a particular jurisdiction or within a certain area?
I think so. It would certainly encourage you to make it as open as possible and to allow equal access for people that want to participate. That does not prevent. I mean, the whole idea of being able to have licenses is presupposing the fact that we still have a license registration fee within the bill. But again, the idea is to again make it as open as possible, as competitive as possible, without setting up monopolies either regionally or across the state.
Okay.
We have. Delegate Bulova, follow up.
No, I guess I understand the monopoly part, and I'm 100% with you there. I guess I'm just trying to figure out how on earth the commissioner would go ahead and possibly implement otherwise lessens competition. It seems like it would get us all into trouble and create a litigious atmosphere as we're trying to navigate, licenses and permits.
Sure, I would again, Madam Chair, I would suggest my interpretation of that language, and maybe counsel, but my interpretation of it essentially is that, obviously we don't talk about a competitive environment in the sense that everyone has to compete or that people can't be excluded based off of violating the various regulations that are put into play. I read that more as, again, a general admonishment of the commissioner to, push for as open a market as possible where people are free to be able to compete.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Freitas. Next up, we have a question from Delegate Runyon.
It's more a comment, Madam Chair. I would like to thank the patron for bringing the bill forward and having it crafted so narrowly. That being said, Madam Chair, I would offer a motion at the appropriate time.
Delegate Runyon, we just have one more question from Delegate Adams, and then
Okay.
I will certainly take that motion.
My apologies, Mr. Chair. I could not pull this up, so I'm getting it now. Thank you so much.
Do you have a question, Delegate Adams?
I do not. Thank you.
All right, that question's withdrawn. You can go ahead, Delegate Runyon.
Madam Chair, I would offer a motion to, report with sub,
And amendment.
and amendment.
We have a motion that's properly been seconded. Please prepare to vote. That bill reports with that bill fails on a vote of 4-4. Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
All right, next up, we're going to take Delegate Wilt. And first up, I would like for you to, if you may, let's start with House Bill 2265. We'll go in numerical order for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Before you is House Bill 2265. This also deals in the arena of industrial hemp. And kind of the backstory, currently any of our farmers, they're raising a crop of industrial hemp. And if the THC level is above 3%, they have to destroy the crop. So what this bill does, it would ask that we be able to extend that limit up to 1%, and they wouldn't have to destroy their crop. And let's see, what else can I tell you? It's pretty simple. That's our farmers invest a lot. They put a lot of time and energy into this. And we've tried to put guardrails in this whole arena of industrial hemp. And so, that's what we're asking to do, is just help protect them in that situation. I guess industrial hemp's like any other plant. A lot of it's affected by weather. The farmers, they can't control that THC level any more than a farmer can control the sweetness of their corn, I guess you could say. So it's that's the purpose in the bill.
All right, thank you, Delegate Wilt. I just do want to note, and I would love to take support first, then opposition.
Sure.
And remember, we're doing 10 minutes in support max, 10 minutes in opposition max, and 5 minutes online. So someone who's with multiple members of one organization, we will take one voice, okay? Those in support of House Bill 2265.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Zach Jacobs with Virginia Farm Bureau. As the patron mentioned, THC content of hemp plants is significantly impacted by environmental factors that is out of the control of the farmers. And although we understand the implications that come from being out of compliance with the federal government, we support this policy at both the state and federal level, and are interested in how the upcoming Farm Bill will address the industry. But we thank the patron for carrying the policy and VDAX for the conversation around this. But with that, we support the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of this distinguished body, Dylan Bishop on behalf of the Cannabis Business Association of Virginia. We represent folks that grow, process, and sell at retail hemp products. I'd like to align my comments with the gentleman who spoke before me. We ask you to support the bill. Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Sarah Davidson, and I'm with the Virginia Hemp Coalition. I hope that you will strongly consider voting yes on this bill. Increasing that 0.3% to 0.1% will significantly help local farmers and tap into a hemp market that would create so much opportunity for the state of Virginia and all of its patrons. Hemp has a wealth of processes and uses in the industrial terms, hempcrete to be one of them. The revenue that could be generated could help fund schools, fund police departments, fund infrastructure. This is really going to help the small businesses and small farmers that Virginia prides itself on. We would just really like you to to consider this bill and consider, the everyday constituent. Farmers are struggling enough as it is. We don't need to be bearing them in any more red tape. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, as a member of the community and who worked in hemp, can y'all hear me? Hello?
Put the mic up to your mouth.
You know what? As a member of your community, I am a true believer in hemp. I have a lot of challenges that I go through, and with these changes that you're implementing, with the increase in maximum of the THC concentration, it would benefit us. It would benefit farmers more than anything because there are more cannabinoids. There are different parts of the plant that can be used to benefit people in many different ways. So allowing farmers to be able to have a little bit more control and not have to throw most of their crop away because it doesn't meet demands or it doesn't meet the standards would be great. So I support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition to House Bill 2265?
Madam Chair, Brad Copenhaver representing the Virginia Agribusiness Council, and it feels wrong. Opposition is not the right word. I come up here. The Virginia Agribusiness Council has been a longtime supporter of our hemp industry. We fully support the hemp industry in compliance with the federal law. I think we just have some broad concerns about how this could impact our program here in Virginia and what that can mean with our federal compliance, which could impact crop insurance, lending availability, and that sort of thing. So just expressing some broad concerns about the maybe some unintended consequences of the bill. Thank you.
Next, anyone else in opposition? All right, next we're going to go to, come on up.
Jan Padini on behalf of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. We take no position on the bill. While I understand the intent of the delegates' legislation, there would be a technical amendment necessary to apply a 1% by dry weight measurement as opposed to 1% uniformly across any medium. That will give you much different measurements in a liquid and a solid versus in a plant itself.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Randy Pearson on behalf of Columbia Care, the licensed medical processor in HSA 5, which is in Hampton Roads. I'd echo the comments you heard previously. We appreciate the patron bringing the bill forward. We do have some concerns with it, and we think there are some technical amendments that can be made to make us okay with the legislation, but as it stands now, we cannot support it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, my name is Jack Page. I'm one of the co-founders of Dharma Pharmaceuticals. We're the licensed processor in HSA 3, Far Southwest. And I echo the comments of the previous speakers. If we could work a little bit together and maybe talk about this not for human consumption, we might be able to support the bill.
Thank you. Next, we're going to get a brief online testimony. And first up, if everyone that would like to testify, please turn on your cameras. And we will start with Mr. Michael Hashmi.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can barely. Get a little bit closer to your mic, sir.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Yes. So I would like to express my support for this bill. I do agree with previous comments about there needs to be some technicalities changed in terms of how the 1% is measured in terms of dry weight. But I believe this will help farmers. 1% will not have any psychoactive effects virtually on any type of public consumption, even though in this bill it does seem that it prohibits public consumption anyway.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Mr. Scott McStacy. Is he in the room? I do not see him.
No, Madam Clerk. We have Mike Truxell.
All right, next up, Mr. Truxell.
Yes, ma'am, Mike Truxell. I'm a hemp farmer, and we've also got a processing license. I'm definitely in favor of this bill. My understanding of the bill with the language is that it only applies to industrial hemp for grain, fiber, seed, and animal feed. It doesn't have anything to do with any sort of human consumable products, and that the 1% feature would only apply to plants in the field and not actually to any finished products. So I can understand the concerns of the folks in terms of what it might do for any sort of human consumables, but my reading of this language, this is only for like food, or not food, I'm sorry, grain, fiber, seed, and animal feed. It's not anything for human consumption. So I think those concerns while perhaps well-intentioned, are misplaced. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. That concludes online testimony. I don't see anyone else in the room. Delegate, would you like the last word on your bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would greatly apologize to the committee. I didn't make that point, as Mr. Troxel did. This is all about non-human consumption, and I believe it's drawn that way. It's certainly my intent. I have no interest getting in all the other arenas. I know that's a lot of discussions for another day, but this is, I believe, Madam Chair, narrowly drawn to just deal with the farm products and so forth.
Thank you, Delegate. We do have a question. Delegate Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I ask for clarification from DLS, because I just want to be clear that the current draft doesn't include hemp products as a global. Is it narrowly drafted to non-consumable hemp, or is it, say, hemp products?
Madam Chair, Delegate Adams, yeah, the draft is definitely broader than industrial hemp. It does include hemp products that would be consumables. I think there's some technical edits that we could make to just target industrial hemp that's not intended for human consumption, which would require several edits throughout the bill. But in its current state, it would apply to hemp products that are, intended for human consumption, either edible or smokable.
Do you have a follow-up question, Delegate Adams?
Thank you. No.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Oh, Delegate Bova.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And I apologize if I went ahead and missed this during your remarks or any of the testimony. I'm just trying to get a better feel for if this truly is targeted at industrial hemp. What is the advantage of going from the 0.3 to the 1%? So if you're not doing it for the THC concentration, why is it necessary to go from 0.3 to 1%?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The farmers, the folks that I'm looking at, simply use this for bedding and other farm-related materials and so forth. So that's if their THC level is above 0.3, they have to destroy the whole crop. It can't be, because as I understand, they run afoul of our state rules and also the federal rules. And I'm just simply trying to protect their crop. It is not my intent. I don't want to doubt counsel. That was not my intent. I'm not sure where that's at in the bill, that it says that it covers all hemp. But I'm not a lawyer, so that was never my intent to cross over in that arena.
All right, Delegate Krizak, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Is anyone from VDAX in the room? Maybe I'm wondering if this has any impact on conflict. Go ahead with federal law, and what impact that would have on our hemp growers.
Madam Chair, Delegate Krizak, I'm Erin Williams. I'm with the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and I manage the hemp program. Federal law requires that the hemp crop THC concentration not exceed 0.3 delta 9 THC. If Virginia law is different than that federal THC cap, then Virginia's hemp program would be out of federal compliance, which means that that farmers who grow hemp in Virginia would be considered marijuana growers as far as the U.S. Department of Agriculture is concerned. That means something for their eligibility for crop insurance through USDA or conservation programs. It means something perhaps with respect to being banked by a federally insured institution, because anything, as far as the federal government is concerned, anything over 0.3% delta 9 THC, any cannabis over that is marijuana.
Thank you. Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would like to compliment the patron. Madam Chair, I would like to compliment the patron for attempting to craft such a narrow bill, and I, too, am supportive of our hemp industry, particularly in the valley where we are, but I do have serious concerns that we're still too broad and that the bill is probably not yet mature. The banking issue is a big deal, and we've got to get work through that, and then some of the crop insurance and how you comply with federal programs and like that. So that being said, Madam Chair, would offer a motion at the appropriate time.
Now would be the appropriate time.
Oh, wonderful. I would move that we gently lay this bill on the table.
We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to vote. Thank you, Delegate Wilt. Next up, we're going to take your next bill that is in order, which is House Bill 2428.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. Staying in this universe, somewhat. So I'm hoping that you have a substitute on House Bill 2428. Some, maybe not a written copy, but
Council, do we have a substitute?
Online.
Give us just a moment, Delegate Wilt. We're going to make sure we have that substitute. All right, that substitute should be in IHOD for everyone to look at if they want to take a look. Delegate, do you want to go ahead and explain your substitute?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, so backstory. This bill overall deals with advertising of marijuana products, and so forth. And so that is the intent of the bill, to put guardrails on that whole thing. So especially as it pertains to people under the age of 21, Madam Chair, it's much like restrictions that were put in back over the decades in regards to alcohol, cigarettes, and so forth, and felt like that this arena needs some guardrails as well. So what details of the bill? What it does, it includes some parameters on the content of the advertising. And limits billboard size and location, prohibiting sports events within 500 feet of a school, churches, drug treatment facilities. So, the location of a billboard goes to that. For broadcast advertising, it requires a strong majority of the target audience of 71.6. Why 71.6? That's the standard, for alcohol as well. And so that's why that number was chosen. And I would also say that it's the Board of Cannabis Control Authority. They'll first have to provide a written notice for anybody that violates these rules. They'll have to provide a notice of violation and allow for 30 days of corrective action to be taken. So that's where we started. I mean, overall, that's where we're still at. But I've had the substitute before you has been continuing to go through the process, and there's the substitute, some language changes and so forth to help bring clarification in that whole realm. And if I could, Madam Chair, I'd like for Chip Dix to come forward. He's been instrumental in helping draft and bring about that substitute language.
All right. First, we're going to take. You want to go ahead and answer that briefly?
You want to adopt the substitute?
Can I get a motion to adopt the substitute? All right. All those in favor? All right. Substitute is probably before us.
My name is Chip Dix on behalf of the Outdoor Advertising Association of Virginia, and we support the bill. And the substitute, we helped work through the process, basically just makes a few clarifications to go back and conform to the alcohol regulations that were worked on extensively with a large group of stakeholders back in 2012. So it's a combination of the ABC department at the time, or board at the time, VDOT, local governments, all the industry players. Everybody agreed to a level of restrictions. And so basically what the substitute does is goes back and takes the code section where the alcohol restrictions are, strikes the word alcohol, inserts marijuana or marijuana products, and then goes right through and deletes provisions on the alcohol that reference things like drunk driving and other kinds of things, right? So with respect to the substitute, the first section, when you look at the first section of the bill, and I don't have a copy of the substitute either, but the first section in 4.1, 1116, there are no changes from the introduced bill to the substitute bill. In section 4.1, 1404, there are no changes from the original bill to the substitute bill. The changes are in 4.1, 1405, and what those changes do, again, is just conform this proposed set of restrictions for marijuana and marijuana products to the exact same language, the same distances, making sure that measurements are on the same side of the road or across the road, all those sorts of things, the technical things that the stakeholder group worked on back in 2012. Happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. First, we're going to take any questions from the committee on this bill first. Delegate Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the patron. I appreciate where you're going with this. I do have a concern and then potentially a friendly amendment if you're open to it. What this bill does is address marijuana, which we actually don't have in place as a legal retail market. What we need right now in Virginia is to stop the proliferation of illegal cannabis products that is just absolutely everywhere. And what I would recommend is that any place that it says marijuana here in this bill, to add tetrahydrocannabinol and synthetic derivatives. Now, synthetic derivatives means anything not naturally occurring in the plant. So it doesn't affect CBD, CBG, CBN, and other cannabinoids growing in the plant. It should not affect a CBD business that doesn't have non-intoxicating products. But it would stop this proliferation of advertising for current products that we're seeing that are intoxicating products, not consistent with adult retail hemp. Cannabis. So that would be my comments and suggestions.
Delegate, would you see any verbiage as a friendly amendment to your bill?
Madam Chair, I would. And the delegate and I talked about that previously. I knew I had this substitute and, was just a little concerned about, springing a big change on staff, at the last minute. But with me doing it, I'm going to have to, go through all the processes. But, with this being done, it can be done now.
Sounds good to me. Council? Do you have the intention, I think, of what Delegate Adams was attempting to add in and on what line?
Madam Chair, I think basically what we would do is, which this subtitle should probably already have a definition of tetrahydrocannabinol anyway, but it doesn't. So probably the easiest fix would be to go ahead and just define that for purposes of the subtitle in 4.1-600. So that would go at the beginning of the bill. And we'd probably define it along the lines of any naturally occurring or synthetic tetrahydrocannabinol, including its salts, isomers, and synthetic derivatives, or salts of isomers or synthetic derivatives. I think that would cover what Delegate Adams was mentioning.
I think that's what the intention was. Can we get a motion to accept that?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? All right. So we have that properly before us now. Do we have any questions now of the subcommittee? Delegate Krizek.
Yeah, I just want to say, Delegate, I think this is really good and important, but I do have one concern as well, and I think it can be fixed, and I apologize for not bringing this forward before, but I did not see the substitute. But if you look at line 6, Madam Chair, or not line 6, line 49, but it's number 6, it says make any reference to the intoxicating effects of marijuana or marijuana products. My concern is if you prohibit that, then isn't that how will consumers gain full information about that as a health hazard, if you will? It kind of reminds me of the old prohibition laws that banned advertising alcohol by volume, and then remember that Coors sued for the right to have that. But it's important that I think that is not something that we ban, because it may be something we want to let people know the hazard there, that they could be intoxicating.
Delegate Krizak, I just want to respond real quick. So just so everyone here is aware, if this bill is favorably reported, it will have another stopover in court since there is a minor misdemeanor inside the bill. So there will have, someone else will have one more crack at this one. So with that, Delegate Bilva, you have a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair. And I just want to make sure I understand the operational parts kind of crystal clear. So the first one is that if it's not legal in Virginia, then you can't advertise for it in Virginia. So up in Fairfax County, you can't have a big billboard or a sign that says, come to Maryland because X, Y, and Z is legal, and get people to go ahead and do that. Except for
Madam Chair, I'd say that's correct.
Okay, and then there's an exception for pharmaceuticals. So if Maryland has a medical marijuana facility, then you can go ahead and do that in Virginia. And then I guess most of the rest of it then is identical to what we have for alcohol, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question. With that, I will take, we're going to go ahead and start the clock. We will take support in reference to House Bill 2428. Please come forward.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, J.M. Padini on behalf of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. We support the bill and thank the patron for his work on this.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, my name is Jack Page. I'm with Dharma Pharmaceuticals, the licensed medical processor in HSA 3. We thank the patron for bringing the bill forward, and we support.
Madam Chair, Jonathan Williams on behalf of the Virginia Association of Broadcasters, and we want to thank Delegate Wilt for being willing to make the changes to accommodate us. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Randy Pearson speaking on behalf of Columbia Care, the licensed medical processor in HSA 5, as well as speaking tonight on behalf of Geely, the licensed medical processor in HSA 4 in the Richmond area. We support the bill and thank the patron for bringing it forward.
Madam Chair, Hunter Jamerson for Jushi, the licensed medical processor, Health Service Area 2, operating out of Manassas. We thank Delegate Wilt for all his work on this bill and ask you to support it and report it. Thank you.
I do have one question. Thank you, Delegate. My name is Jacqueline Williamson. I spoke with you all earlier in regards to this bill and the different other cannabinoids that are located in the plant. Does that also include the intoxicating portion? If you take that out, where does it stand? Would we be limiting that, completely taking that away? I just want to make sure I'm understanding the bill correctly. All parts of the plant that can be intoxicating, we're saying we want to remove that and only do the 0.3%. We want to move the 0.3% to 1%.
This is another bill. We're on a different bill at this time, ma'am.
This is just the advertising. You can't put up, we're giving guardrails to putting up signs and doing radio ads and those kind of things.
Correct. That's my point. So with that bill and this bill for things such as Delta 8, Delta 10, other isomers that y'all were speaking about, this would limit the advertising or take that advertising completely away, correct?
Council, do you want to, she asked about 3 different sections here on, would you like to?
Correct.
Yes. Can you clarify the question one more time?
So with this advertising bill, is it sharing that there are local businesses that are already open in advertising? They're advertising using different parts of the cannabinoid that are not considered Delta 9. They're considered other portions like CBN, THCA, things of that nature. So in regards to advertising for those, are we saying that we're wanting to support advertising for it? Will they be able to, or will we be able to? I just want to make sure that I'm in support of the right thing, because it's a little bit confusing with the language.
Madam Chair, so there's a couple issues kind of tied up in what you just said, but the answer is it depends. I mean, for CBD, it's not going to fall underneath the definition of tetrahydrocannabinol, underneath the definition we're going to be putting in this bill, so those products would be fine. If you have you mentioned THCA, Delta 8 products, those are all going to fall underneath underneath these advertising rules. So it doesn't directly prohibit them, but they would have to comply with the terms of the bill. It does prohibit advertising of any product that can't be lawfully sold. So if you're trying to market something that you can't currently sell in Virginia, then that would be prohibited.
Thank you. Those in opposition? Wow, Delegate Welch, your lucky day. We are going to briefly take some online testimony, and I see at least one person in the room, so two in the room. Dr. Gary Kirkulis with the American Academy of Pediatrics. Are you in the room?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we can.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Dr. Gary Kirkulis. I'm the spokesperson for the American Academy of Pediatrics. I want to give my support for this bill. Around the country, we are seeing states that are legalizing cannabis, but not at the same time limiting advertising, the way that we do for tobacco and alcohol. And this is very important because research shows that when youth see these advertisements, their perception of risk goes down. They see it wildly advertised and they think they must be safe. Unfortunately, that's not true. The developing adolescent brain is affected by cannabis. We see decreased concentration rates. We see decreased high school completion rates. And for these reasons, we needed to do our due diligence. If we do have this product legalized, we have to limit it in the way it's advertised. There are many, many health effects due to cannabis, and it's really the right thing to do. Several other states have done this. Connecticut recently passed something with bipartisan support. Chicago did this. It's really the smart thing to do. If you oppose this, and then I think you have to be able to say the sentence, I think cannabis should be advertised near schools, or I think cannabis has the right to be advertised at baseball games. If you can say that, then I think your priorities are a bit off. And so I give my full support to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the online room that would like to testify, please turn on your camera or else we'll be rolling to. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Hayes, if you'd like to start.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Savian Hayes. I am the CEO of the Hemp Hope Group and the board director for the Kush Committee. Excuse me. And I'm in opposition to this bill clearly because of the misdemeanor language in there. We're working on moving cannabis out of prohibition. So to continuously add criminal charges on stuff is, I think, completely backwards. We do need limitations on advertisement, but I really do think that we shouldn't make it a criminal offense. For instance, I'm not sure if any of you all run a cannabis business, but I operate a delivery service in California, and we depend on print media, flyers, billboards, and things of that nature. So what if one of our customers gets a flyer and accidentally leaves it on the sidewalk in front of a school? Would we be considered in violation for things of that nature? So I really think that misdemeanor language needs to be reconsidered.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Mr. Hayes. Next, we have, would you like a last word on your bill, or are you good, Delegate Wilt?
Madam Chair, I think I'm good. I appreciate the work that's been thus far. Council, committee members, I appreciate it. I think we're moving towards a better product.
Thank you. And if this bill is report favorably, again, this would be a report and refer to courts. And with that, Delegate Runyon, I believe that you have a question or a motion?
Madam Chair, I have a motion at the proper time.
Now would be it.
There we go. So I would offer a motion to report. We have a motion to report the sub with the amendment to full committee and refer to courts. Yeah.
That would be the proper motion. Do I have a second? All right, please prepare to vote. Your bill reports to the full committee, then to courts with a vote of recommendation 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Wilt. Next up, just
Madam
Chair. Delegate Wright.
I have a motion, please. Having voted on the prevailing side by which we failed to report House Bill 1881, I move that we reconsider that bill so a member can correct his vote.
All right. There's a motion to reconsider in a second to bring back up House Bill 1881 so we can correct a vote. All those in favor? All right. Delegate Freitas, you live again. We're going to re-vote on this bill, okay? Would someone like to?
Madam Chair, I have a motion to report.
Delegate Runyon, thank you. Report? Second? All right, please prepare to vote. With the substitute. It's a good day, Delegate Freitas. Your bill reports a substitute 6-2. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
All right, and just going, there we go. Everyone likes that guy. Just so we're aware, from the podium, when we do support and opposition, we don't take generally questions to council going forward. I just want to remind the audience of that. So having said that, next up, we will be taking Delegate Weber. Would you like to proceed forward?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I believe you have House Bill 1750 before the
Yes,
subcommittee.
Madam Chair, I have 1750, which I believe would probably begin a much broader conversation that's going to occur in this committee. Essentially, what the bill does is it takes what is currently an unregulated, untaxed, and untested market for cannabis and makes it a regulated retail cannabis market for products. It ensures secure tracking of products from seed to sale, requires product testing by independent state-certified labs, gives regulatory oversight for license caps and product safety to the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority, also known as the VCCCA. It clarifies that edible hemp and marijuana products are subject to VDAC's food product regulations and inspections, sets limits on quantities of THC per transaction, creates 5 license categories and sets limits on how many plants may be cultivated by one licensee, enumerates zoning and permitting powers of localities, allows localities to hold a referendum where citizens decide to prohibit retail sale of marijuana in their jurisdiction, empowers the VCCA to waive license fees for SWAM businesses or businesses located in economically disadvantaged communities, and sets a 12% retail tax for marijuana and marijuana products, with 8% going to the state and 4% going to localities. And that's what the bill does, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Weber. It looks like you worked very hard on this.
And numerous others did too.
Do we have any questions of the committee? We do not? All right, so we're going to go ahead and start the clock. We're going to take those in support of House Bill 1750.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Greg Habib from Gentry Lock here on behalf of the Virginia Cannabis Association. So every single person in the General Assembly that I talk to says the status quo is not acceptable. Delegate Adams mentioned the proliferation of illegal products being sold. We're seeing kids ingesting tainted products. We're seeing products that are untested, unregulated, sold through unlicensed facilities with no taxation. There's no money flowing back into the state for this. So we need to get our hands around it. We all seem to agree that there's a problem. And so the question is, once you've identified the problem, what are we going to do about it? One idea would be to go back and prohibit cannabis, prohibit marijuana altogether. It's pretty clear the politics don't align that way right now. And so after last session, when the Senate passed an omnibus regulatory bill, the Virginia Cannabis Association, working with Delegate Weber, Majority Leader Kilgore, and others, tried to come up with a robust framework that the Republican-led House could support, with the idea being that we have to do something. So there's lots of specifics in the bill that you might like or not like. The reality is it was an attempt to create a vehicle that this body could support so that we could regulate, test, license, and tax. It's that simple. We either have to ban the stuff or we've got to address the public safety issues that we're having right now. That's what this bill does. We understand where the politics are in the moment. I'm going to give David May the credit because I always tell him I won't give him the credit. He's spending an extraordinary amount of time trying to thread the needle to get a bill passed. So again, wherever you fall on these issues, we have to do something. If this bill isn't the solution, we beg you to come forward with another solution because we have a legitimate public health crisis that this bill is trying to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I just want to say that it is extremely hard to go behind Greg Habib, just for anybody that's done that before. My name is Jason Blanchette. I am the founder of Flower for the People. I've also been a nursery and agriculture grower in the state of Virginia for almost 25 years now. I want to thank Delegate Weber for his helping us to bring this bill to fruition. As Mr. Habib said, we've got to do something. We know that in each and every one of your districts currently there are marijuana pop-ups that are being untaxed. They are unsafe. We know about it, and we've got to do something about it. So we just ask that we do something here. As Greg said, we need some kind of vehicle to make a change, and it starts with us in this room. So we thank you for taking this into consideration.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the chair, my name is Nicholas Roach. I'm a Navy SEAL veteran, 9 combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Got in this industry because my daughter had Tourette's, and this was the only thing after 2 years of trying pharmaceuticals that would work. And so I went from being a non-believer to now I'm absolutely a believer. This is definitely an area that we all want to make sure is regulated and done well. We don't want our kids getting a hold of anything that could be harmful to them. We are absolutely about making sure that the packaging is done correctly. Now I own a CBD shop, and when you come in my shop, you're going to get carded, just as if you're trying to buy alcohol. There are ways for us to make sure that we do this right and roll it out right. Now I'm the Veterans Affairs Director for the Virginia Hemp Coalition, and we support this bill with the recommendations to make sure that it is not directed solely towards cannabis monopoly markets. I want to make sure that as a veteran that served my country and protected the free right of free enterprise, that little guys like me also have a right to the market and fair enterprise here. So we support this bill. We just ask it to be fair and equitable for everybody involved. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And just so everyone gets a chance to testify, let's try to keep our comments as short as we can so we can be respectful of everyone who'd like to speak. Thank you.
I hope I can keep this short. My name is Caroline Gallagher. I'm an attorney that has been working specifically with cannabis businesses in Virginia for about 2 years now. I'm a member of the International Cannabis Bar Association and specifically serving on the Ethics Committee. I also support this bill and echo Mr. Habib. Virginia needs a market that reestablishes Virginia's commitment to public safety, builds our economy, provides opportunities for small businesses and farmers, and escapes the pitfalls that we have learned from the rollout of other states. I support this bill moving forward so that this conversation can continue. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of this distinguished body, Dylan Bishop, again on behalf of the Cannabis Business Association of Virginia. I'll reiterate my commentary from this very same subcommittee last year. We're not asking you to pass judgment on whether legalizing marijuana for adult use is a good policy idea or not. We've already done that. It's in the books, and it would require legislative action to repeal that. What we're asking you to do is to fix this public safety crisis where we have folks that are consuming untested, mislabeled products. And for my friends on the conservative side of the aisle, you have the opportunity now to do it and do it your way. You may not have that opportunity this time next year, so I would encourage you to do it and to do it right. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Susan Gaston on behalf of Purely Appalachia. We are a network of business owners and entrepreneurs out in Southwest Virginia. I won't belabor the time. I cannot really say anything any better than what some of the former speakers have said, but we encourage you to please support the bill, get something moving forward so that the conversation can keep going and we can find that solution. Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brad Wynn, owner of Veg Out Organics. We have a organic skincare line for topicals, and I'm also a newly appointed member for the Virginia Beach Cannabis Advisory Task Force. We support this bill because it takes care of a lot of our problems that we have in all the other hemp bills that are happening, and some of the problems in these hemp bills are going to hurt other hemp businesses and take away not even the synthetics, but also full spectrum products as well. And we're essentially telling hemp businesses to do just broad spectrum. So we support this bill because it can help take care of so many of our problems in the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tanner Johnson, CEO of Pure Shenandoah. In Elkton, Virginia, we're a seed-to-sale company, vertically and horizontally integrated across the cannabis plant. We fully support this bill. We know what Virginians want, and we know how to do it right. We think this bill can accomplish that, and we'd really love the opportunity to give Virginians what they need. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, I am Derek Wall out of Southwest Virginia with the Buffalo Hemp Company. I have been in the hemp industry since 2019. As soon as the farm bill was passed, we got in. It's been a struggle. I've been here last session. I'm now here this session. It's the same story. We all know there's a public safety issue. We need to solve it. Banning hemp is not the resolution. There will be other things that come into the state from out of state. We've got to make a move now. Adult use is the answer. We hope that you'll consider this bill. Weber's done a great job, and I think it does take sincere consideration. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Jonathan Redcross, representing Yogi's Enterprises, a small farm out here in Richmond. Just want to show my support for this bill and that all small farmers that have been compliant, like we have in this group, are really hoping that this will pass and we can get going on getting everything back to where it should be. Thanks.
Thank you. Perfect time. You're the last one. Time's about to expire.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. I probably won't. My name is Tyler Gamble. I'm a CPA, senior manager at a public company here in Richmond. It is busy season, so forgive any lack of preparation on my part. I'm coming right from the office. I'm not here in that capacity. I'm the president of the Home Growers Club of Virginia. Think about us as a home brewers club, but for cannabis cultivation at home. I just want to also support this bill, but also echoing Nick's recommended provisions here on the equitability of this for access, and propose an idea for the CCA where regulation of the licensures could be the burden for employment of those regulators might not have to fall fully on the Cannabis Control Authority. We could do something like my CPA background where you have...
just support or opposition on the bill. We're not rewriting bills here tonight, okay?
Support.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, any of those in opposition to House Bill 1750, please come forward.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, my name is Tom Antorcio, and I represent the Virginia Catholic Conference, and I also an alliance of organizations, Virginians Evaluating Drug Legislation, and we oppose this bill. We oppose the bill because it is it would set Virginia back both in terms of public health and public safety. Leaving aside issues which you'll hear about shortly about the threat to our kids. We already are dealing with skyrocketing poisonings, or a very, very steep rise in poison control calls. Suicide is now the second leading cause of death for children or young people aged 10 to 24. And psychosis, depression, and schizophrenia are associated with cannabis use. But let's talk about the safety issue, because you heard the speakers mention safety just briefly here, and so I'll just touch on this very briefly. Is that, as you all know, Virginia is in the midst of a crisis with regard to crime. The Department of Public Safety has indicated there's a steep increase in violent crime, both organized crime and crime attributable to cartels. Mexican cartels, other cartels. And so what we see is that when you have a market, you'll hear the advocates of this bill say that taxing and regulating will lead to a safer environment. That's just not the case, unfortunately. There are a lot of unintended consequences. And if you look at California as a perfect example, in California, 60% of California's marijuana trade remains in the illicit market.
Please go ahead and wrap it up because we have 10 minutes for each side, so I want to be respectful to the people behind you, okay?
Absolutely. So with that being said, lastly, I would just say that today the Department of the new Commission on Human Trafficking released its report. Substance abuse is tied to human trafficking. The criminal elements that are involved in the illicit market often use their revenues to fund these other illicit operations.
We've got to move on.
With that being said, Madam Chair, I'll now yield the floor to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Price. I'm here as a concerned parent. I've seen marijuana use skyrocket in public and private schools in my area in the last few years. I feel that it has significantly impacted education at a time when education, healthcare, and mental health are all at a crisis point due to COVID-19. My son cannot go a day at his school without seeing other kids smoking in the bathroom, and that's every single day. Other children are sneaking out at night.
Can you please keep it to the content of the bill, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
So I feel that a retail market will send the message to children that that marijuana use is safe. We heard a pediatrician testify that in children it is definitely not safe. So far, the Commonwealth has done a poor job at restricting sales to over age 21, and I need to see the evidence that you're going to do something about restricting those sales to children before we expand the market and allow for commercialization. Thank you for doing the best thing for our children and limiting the products that are out there, cutting back on what's out there now rather than expanding the market. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the subcommittee, Todd Gackey on behalf of the Family Foundation. And I know that there's been work that's put into this bill in terms of crafting it to serve business interests. But I stand here not compromising on the families of Virginia, and that's who I'm here to represent and who I'm here to stand for. Because legalization of marijuana has been a giant experiment in public policy, and we're starting to see the consequences. Black market, problem, addiction, and of course mental health. And the governor has been trying to, this year, making an effort to address mental health. This legislative body has made it an effort to address mental health. And if we go along the process of making marijuana more accessible, we're going to undermine those efforts to correct the mental health crisis that we have in the state. Aubrey Adams, director of nonprofit Every Brain Matters, has stated cannabis-induced psychosis is real and it's destroying thousands of families across America. And once the brain is broken, once it's addicted, it's really hard to get it back. Let's not do that to our young children in the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to take just up to 5 minutes for online testimony. Anyone who is online, please keep your comments brief and make sure your cameras turn on so that you may testify. First up on House Bill 1750, we're going to take Jason with the Virginia Hemp Coalition. Not in the room. All right, next we're going to take Mr. Savion Hayes.
All right, I'm in opposition to this bill because the timeline pushes it back to 2025. Virginia discovered cannabis kills cancer cells in 1979. There's no legal or logical reason why we don't have a more advanced and a more progressive cannabis industry here in Virginia. Honestly, a lot of the statistics that are being read have been disproven to be prohibitionist just media control campaigns. The real evidence is showing that crime, it reduces dramatically in the face of a ended prohibition market. And as somebody that operates in those markets, I'm not sure about you guys, but I've had a gun put in my face over cannabis sales within the black market out in California. And it's not something fun. You don't see people getting robbed over alcohol anymore.
Mr. Hayes, can you please be brief? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm in opposition because we need to act more progressively now to address the health and safety issues here in Virginia and not push it back any further to 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Next up, we have Michael Hashmi.
Hello, yes. I'll just try to keep it brief. So I do support this framework, but I do have some comments in regards to what things have been said. California has a opt-out
Mr. Hashmi, please speak to in support or opposition of the bill, not to comments made by prior to those testifying. Thank you.
I do support it, but I do believe the framework does need to be worked on.
Thank you, sir.
I do agree with the date, and I do believe there should be a two-tier system. That's why I have also supporting the next bill coming up as well.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Troxel, would you like to comment next?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm on the Virginia Hemp Coalition Advisory Board, and we do support this bill with a couple of recommendations. We'd like to see the tax rate lowered from 12 to 10%, and we'd like to see the addition of some micro-grow licenses so that folks, basically some craft growing licenses similar to craft beer, so that folks can grow up to 4,000 pounds of cannabis a year. But other than that, this is a good bill. We do already have a pseudo retail market with the medical cannabis providers. I know everyone's like, oh, it's medical. Well, folks, at 18 years old can already buy whatever they want to as soon as they get their medical card. I'm not aware of anyone who's ever been turned down for one. So the sooner we can go to a full retail market, I think the better. And with that, I do support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troxel. Lastly, we have Mr. Suit.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Ryan Suit, and I'm an attorney and owner of a CBD and cannabis company in Virginia Beach. I'd like to urge you to support HB 1750 and also echo the comments made by Greg Habib for the Virginia Cannabis Association, as well as Dylan Bishop for Cannabis VA. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That concludes our testimony. Are there any questions of the committee? Delegate Adams, I believe you have a question for Delegate Weber's bill.
Thank you. It's more of a comment. First, I just want to say thank you to Delegate Weber for making a yeoman's effort. This is a giant bill. And I also want to share that there has been just an absolute ton of misinformation during this testimony, and I couldn't sit quiet and not say that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for being quite a fine delegate, she's saying, Delegate Weber.
We try.
Do you have any last words on your bill, sir?
Well, I just think that with some of the testimony, it at least it has shown that we do need to. We currently have a marketplace. We just need to regulate it and tax it. And this is one vehicle that was proposed. Obviously, there'll be more vehicles, and there'll be vehicles in the future. But I will say that if we don't start maneuvering in a certain direction, I believe that the problems, even with regulating further some of the other hemp products, et cetera, I think our problems are going to continue until we start regulating and taxing the market that we have right now. And that's it.
Thank you, Delegate Weber, for bringing the bill. Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I, too, want to applaud the patron for bringing this bill forward. It is a complicated subject. And I'll comment on a statement made earlier that we have challenges that we need to move forward. We do, but this is not the right bill. It is not ready to deal with the issues that we've got. And I do hate to say that, Delegate, because I know you work so hard on it, Delegate, but I would offer a move that we gently lay this bill on the table.
We have a motion and a second to properly lay this bill on the table. Please pray to vote.
That's right, you're a yes.
Thank you, Delegate Weber.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Last but not least, Delegate Hodges, you have before us House Bill 1464.
All right, Madam Chair, you ready?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I believe there's a substitute.
Would someone like to move the substitute? Can I get a second? Let's wake up. A second. All those in favor? Aye. There we go. Substitute is properly before us. Would you like to explain your substitute, Delegate Hodges?
Certainly, Madam Chair. And first, I'd like to just say Delegate Runyon's comments on hard work with Delegate Weber. I know I've worked hard on this, but no one has worked harder than David May on all of these bills, and applaud him for his hard work.
Can we just pause and Ashley do an incredible job as well.
And I may, Madam Chair, and with the substitute that's before you, let me just go back just a little bit. We've heard a lot of testimony today, and some, information, misinformation, some very good information as well. But people look at me and say, Hodges, why did you introduce this legislation? Because I have never been a proponent for the legalization of marijuana or recreational cannabis use. But I am a proponent of public health, public safety, and the rule of law. My observation in looking at this, we are in a public health crisis. You can legally possess marijuana in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but you can't legally purchase it. And when it's purchased on the street in the illicit market, what you're doing then, and we really haven't talked about it now, you're propping up organized crime. And some of those studies have shown up to 80% of those dollars are being funneled into organized crime, where you're dealing with drug cartels, human trafficking, and that's where those dollars are going. And we're now seeing horror stories about tainted marijuana that's out there, and some that's actually been tainted with fentanyl. And even locally in my district, and talking with our sheriffs, it's been seen even in our rural areas across the Commonwealth. So the original bill, and looking at what I proposed, was really, let's, number one, regulate it. So it directed the Cannabis Control Authority by September of 2023 to promulgate regulations governing the safe retail sales of cannabis. And the key word is safe there. The regulation also would have been subject to review by the 2024 General Assembly. And except for state licensed facilities, the sale of marijuana would still have been illegal, remained illegal. Now, it also looked at propping up Virginia's licensed medical cannabis pharmaceutical processors to rely on them to launch a safe retail market that's third-party tested, so you know what you're getting at the end of the day, and prop that up. So that's really the basics of the original bill. But when you look, and we've taken this, and with all of the work of David, we've turned it into a Section 1 bill, 1 page and 19 lines. And with this bill, understand that we all want to tackle the problems with the illicit market, but not everyone's really willing to, go forward with the timeline that I proposed in the original bill. So this Section 1 bill, whose sole purpose is to really to direct the Cannabis Control Authority to draft regulations outlining how legal cannabis marketplace can be stood up and then how it can be enforced. So the substitute really follows the same pathway that was propped up when we regulated medical cannabis program. Enforcement regulations first, and then with the licenses at a later point. So, of course, promulgate the regulations, bring them back to the General Assembly, and then it would be us to approve them. So that's really the bill, Madam Chair. And if we do nothing, we have a problem on our hands. And we need to protect the citizens of Virginia from the illicit market. So that's the bill.
Thank you, Delegate Hodges. Do we have any questions of the subcommittee? All right, seeing none, do we have those in the audience in support of the bill as substituted?
Madam Chair, Hunter Jamerson for Jushi. Greatly appreciate the work of Delegate Hodges as well as Delegate Webert and David May, who deserves all of that thanks, for the efforts to address this issue. Madam Chair, I know you've spent a lot of hours, your whole subcommittee has, on this issue. 3 years ago, JLARC studied the retail sale of cannabis. 2 years ago, the General Assembly passed, subject to reenactment, a much broader approach to the retail sale of cannabis. That bill was not reenacted. Last year, this subcommittee deemed it not ready for prime time, needed to review these concepts further. This year, I think Delegate Hodges has brought you the right bill. This bill does not authorize sales. This bill does not open doors. This bill does not cause anyone to have a license to do anything in the retail market. This bill allows you to see what that would look like should you want to go forward in the future. We do things incrementally in Virginia. I think this is that incremental approach. I ask you to support the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, J.M. Padini, on behalf of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, thank you to the delegate for his continued work on this issue. And as he said, this is the same process through which we implemented the regulatory structure for the medical cannabis program. We urge you to support the bill.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Greg Abbe from SLIQ here on behalf of the Virginia Cannabis Association. As substituted, this bill should be unanimous. Frankly, the governor should support it. All this bill does is says the CCA that you all have propped up and funded should do its job of advising you guys what a market could look like next year. You'll still get to vote. The governor will still get to play his role. Nothing happens. This is just a way to inform this body. It doesn't move fast enough, but I appreciate Delegate Hodges' approach to this because this might be the way you can actually advance a bill this year. Thank you.
My name is Caroline Gallagher again, and I do represent cannabis businesses in this industry and businesses looking to enter this industry. I support this bill and giving the green light to those businesses to enter. Having a tacitly government-sanctioned illegal market of this magnitude that we have seen since legalizing adult use is simply untenable. I support moving this bill forward so we can begin actually debating the finer points of this legislation.
Good afternoon again, Madam Chair. This is Susan Gaston on behalf of Purely Appalachia, and we very much thank Delegate Hodges for his effort. We supported the original bill. We certainly support the substitute because it accomplishes that goal of keeping this moving forward and trying to find that solution. Thank you so much, and we support the bill.
Madam Chair, members of this subcommittee, Dylan Bishop on behalf of the Cannabis Business Association of Virginia. And only because I have nothing else to do over the summer, we support the bill. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, Nicholas Rocha with the Veterans Hemp Coalition. We support this bill. Thank you very much.
Do we have anyone in opposition to House Bill 1464 as substituted? Just remember, everyone, brevity is an art form.
And Madam Chair, what is the time allotment for each side?
It's going to be 5 now.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So again, Tom and Torchia with the Virginians evaluating drug legislation. We oppose this bill for the same reasons that we discussed on the last one, but chiefly, I think this is really moving in a direction that we don't want to go in because there's a delegation issue of authority here. You would be essentially delegating authority to the Cannabis Control Authority, which is a very new agency that I don't believe is equipped to make the policy decisions that you, as elected officials, are charged with doing. And so I think there may be a delegation doctrine issue, perhaps a violation of the administrative procedures laws of Virginia, because I think it would be an unlawful delegation of your authority to the CCA. And I will also add that the CCA is comprised of a board of 5 members, as you know. 4 of those were appointed by Governor Northam, and 1 of them was appointed by Governor Youngkin. And I don't think it would be appropriate for that agency to make the regulations that would set the ground.
Just remember, we have 5 minutes.
Right, that would set the policy for the legislation that would come back to the General Assembly. Thank you for your time, and
thank you.
I'll yield to the next speaker. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Price, and in addition to the reasons that I previously discussed for not moving forward with commercialization, I am also concerned that we are kind of approaching the legalization backwards. We have not done anything yet to address drugged driving or the safety risks of that. The Cannabis Control Board.
Please keep your subject matter to the substitute,
yes.
Okay?
So I feel that we need to address those things before we should consider a retail market. We're trying to expand something, expand the sales, expand the market, then figure out later how to make it safe. Whereas we could have addressed the safety issues first and then evaluated how well they are working before legalizing and before expanding to a retail market. Thank you.
Thank you. A minute actually left. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be briefer than I was last time. I just want to caution against potentially opening a recreational market in advance by only allowing potentially already market participants to start that. So, I mean, I'm talking about G-Leaf, Columbia Care. I believe that gives them an unfair competitive advantage when they have access to the market for a longer period of time before larger sales and larger more licenses might be given to people to sell this. I think if we allow those multi-state corporations to come in and start doing that, you're going to be increasing their EBITDA by 12% or whatever their shareholders have arbitrarily said, instead of
Thank you.
providing a job to a fellow Virginian or a neighbor
Thank
who
you.
can create a career for themselves. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Todd Gacking on behalf of the Family Foundation. I see the intent of the substitute, but we cannot support efforts that would potentially lead to the retail market of marijuana. And so for that reason, we oppose the bill.
Everyone should just learn from what Todd just did. That was an exemplary performance and testimony. Next, we're going to go to online testimony. We have 5 minutes for online testimony. We're going to start with Mr. Savion Hayes.
I support Delegate Hodges' bill because it's the only one I've seen that actually opens up a pathway for us to start at least making some changes this year and not having to wait another year, 2 years out. So I support the bill.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Michael Hashmi.
Yes, I support this bill, also in concert with HB 1400, so that we can have the DCCA helping out.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Paul Lerner.
My name is Paul Lerner. I'm a 40-year resident of Virginia, 30-year property owner. I support HB 1464. I think it's a good bill. Our concerns are the following. The current medical dispensary licensing is lopsided and unattainable for small businesses we were told a year and a half ago would be considered first. The current medical dispensaries cannot meet the needs or the demand for medical products with quality and testing versus supply needs now. We have heard from multiple cannabis medical card holders that even now the dispensaries are becoming more like recreational establishments than medical dispensaries. This bill does not establish a path for small businesses and property owners to obtain cultivation licensing. If Virginia wants to reap the tax benefits, then we need to join the growing number of states requiring cultivation only within their own state's approved facilities. We have an obligation in Virginia to allow small businesses and property owners the ability to become licensed to cultivate and or become licensed to operate a dispensary, be it medical or recreational. Many in Virginia see a handful of dispensaries who can't meet the needs of the population and are owned by folks currently involved in politics or a large monopoly. This is a bad look for Virginia. Small businesses with property and assets on hand should not be discriminated against by those who can pay $10,000 to $50,000 to apply for a license they may never get.
Thank you, Mr. Lerner.
This is a fair process. In summary,
Thank you, Mr. Lerner. Next up in the queue, we have Mr. Troxel.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Speaking for the Virginia Hemp Coalition, in concept, we support this. I will say it's nice to have a substitute that only takes 20 seconds to read. That's a pleasant surprise, I think, for everyone. Obviously, we have concerns about the potential of the current medical providers having a head start into the market, but obviously the VCCA can work on that over the summer. And on a personal note, it is nice to see Hunter Jamerson there. He and I swam on opposing swim teams growing up, and I hope he's doing well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Troxel. We needed that laugh. Thank you. All right, Mr. Hodges. We needed that, didn't we? Mr. Hodges, last word on your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the testimony from everyone, but going back and with those in opposition, what we should have done or could have done is hindsight. We need to move forward and find a way to rein this in. And I think this is a good pathway to move forward. All it does is goes to CCA, establish regulations, and it was said earlier we don't need to leave this up to the CCA. We're the ones that adopt the policy, and those regulations would actually have to come back to us, because if you look at 18 and 19, any regulations drafted by the authority pursuant to the provisions of this act shall not become effective until such regulations are approved by an act of the General Assembly. So with that, Madam Chair, it will be the pleasure of the committee to report the bill.
Thank you for your work on this, Delegate Hodges. We appreciate you. Do we have any questions from the subcommittee? Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank the delegate for bringing this forward. I do appreciate your conversation. For me, though, what it doesn't do is address the illegal products and dangerous products out there. And we do have several bills moving forward that address that. And so I think that needs to be our focus. So that being said, Madam Chair, I would move that we lay the bill as substituted be laid on the table gently.
All right, we have a report and a second. Please prepare to vote. That bill is laid on the table with a vote of 5-3. Thank you, Delegate Hodges.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
With that, we will probably be seeing some bills come up from the Senate, so I'm sure we will see some folks in this room in just a few weeks. So with that, Subcommittee 5 shall rise.